What is the market telling me this week? Welcome to the Rutherford Report, and I'm your host, the Angry Investor. Wall Street tries to take advantage of a lot of people, and that makes me angry. So let me cut through the BS and tell you what's really important. So hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this with someone who would get a lot out of it, because this is the place to be for the financial news that matters for your net worth. Let's get to it. So there's some really interesting stuff in the news that I think is important to pay attention to. Like this article, Ukraine becoming global war after Western long-range weapons used against it. Now, why is this so important? It's important because when you have other articles like this where Russia lists U.S. missile defense base in Poland as priority strike target, if you don't think war is going to break out, that's one thing. If you do, that's another thing. But why is this so important for investors? Well, let's look at Microsoft. And the data tells us that Microsoft's revenue, broken down by geography here, over here you can see that the United States represents 50% of it roughly, and other countries represent 50% of it roughly. 49.1 to be exact. So I don't know if investors know this, but Microsoft makes up a huge percent of all these index funds everyone invests in, and if a big war breaks out, then there's going to be chaos in the world, and that's going to disrupt supply lines, it's going to disrupt companies making revenue, and then you got to start asking yourself, will investors pay such high prices for the revenue or the future projected revenue of many of these companies if it's declining, if there's a lot of uncertainty because of the war? These are all things that I'm watching very closely, because as of right now, it just looks like we're edging closer and closer to war. So it's got things like that on my mind. And it has me questioning, should I be invested in companies that are generating their revenue from all over the world, or should I be investing in companies that are generating all of their revenue inside of the United States so that I'm not exposed as much to these sort of risk factors? Something to keep in mind. But in the meantime, I'm watching the data and I'm watching the trends, and the trend looks like we're marching more and more towards danger. So it's something that I have my eye on. But of course, it's not coming through in the market yet because prices are up and up and up. Now, there's another trend that I've been keeping my eye on every week, and that's the trend that people seem to like to buy gold. Someone likes to buy gold. The central banks allegedly clearly like to buy gold. If you listen to all of the people on the internet telling you what's happening, all I know is it's been going up. It went down a little bit, and now it's bouncing super hard. So I'm looking to see if the trend is intact, and the trend seems to be intact. Just take a look at this article. Texas gold-backed coin aims to help Bitcoin adoption, lawmaker says. So looks like they're proposing some sort of gold-backed digital currency, and they think that's going to boost gold. They think that's going to boost crypto. So obviously the lawmakers in Texas right here, they say themselves, if this sentence is correct, that they want to pump Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin and the gold trend, that's intact. More and more people like these things. And I think if there's more and more chaos in the world, well, more and more people are going to gravitate towards these type of assets. Now, I want to get back to the data because that's why I'm here. I'm here to cut through all of the BS from Wall Street and look at the data. And everybody's really worried about a recession, but let's look at the U.S. PMIs. Now, this is the Purchasing Managers Index, and I like to think of it as people at companies purchasing stuff that they're going to then sell to the consumer. And if they think they're going to sell stuff, they're going to purchase stuff and then sell it. So it's a good indication of how the economy's doing. If you look at it here over on the right side of the graph, well, it's up at whatever this number is. It's a 4 or 3.5. I don't really care what number it's at. All I care about is where it's at on the graph. And you can see that it's at an average place back all through 2010, all the way through 2020, right before the plague. It was hovering just above or just below that number. So that can tell you that the economy is in a healthy place. At least it is today, right now, based on the data. So everyone calling for a recession, they're not reading the data, and maybe they're trying to manipulate you. Maybe they're just incompetent. I don't really know. All I can do is I can look at the data, I can look at the market, and this is why I get angry. Like, people just don't look at the data, and they have these incredible predictions that just aren't true. So the data is telling me that everything is fine right now as of today. Could we get some crazy new data coming out later today or tomorrow that turns everything? Of course. But as of right now, I'm not worried at all from a data perspective and from the market expanding perspective, because people are purchasing managers are purchasing stuff that they think they're going to sell to people. It's right in line with the typical trend. Can't speak correctly there, but it's important to look at. And look, it's coming through in the market. The trend is up. Here's S&P 500. So the market is telling me everything is great because the market is trending up. The data is good. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is bouncing super hard. So there was a sell-off. Now it's coming back. So is this going to be some sort of crazy dead cat bounce, or are we on to new highs? We'll see what happens. But the trend in gold seems to be up. And there's going to be, in my opinion, probably some more chaos, probably more worry. It looks like we have a whole new administration coming in inside the U.S., and what's that going to do? It's going to create a lot of uncertainty. Are they going to cut a lot of government stuff and create a lot of uncertainty? Are they going to print more money? Well, if they do, that's going to maintain the trend in gold. And this has been a trend going on for a few years now. All the way back here, this trend has been intact really since somewhere between 2015 and 2018. And it seems like it's going up. So if you think the trend is going to continue being long, gold is a great place to be. Now, let me shift over to Bitcoin, because the market is telling me that it's going bananas. And I think this is really important to look at and point out, because everyone's worried and thinking, will it go up? Will it go down? Well, Bitcoin has been on an absolute tear, and we want to look at what people think, because you really have to invest, or I have to invest off of what other people think. So I will like to look at what other people think. And one of the most prominent figureheads in this entire area here is this guy, Plan B, and he's got this model here. Whether it's right or wrong, who knows? That's not what's important, but what's important is that other people think it's right. And if I look at his model here, he's got this little stair-step thing. And typically, if I study the past history of Bitcoin, well, it halves, it goes up a lot, and then it crashes a lot. And we're in the period of time where it's halved, and then it's kind of hung out, and now it's really going up a lot. So you can see, looking at this, that there's probably a bit of time left. Just because more and more people need to pile in, more and more people need to get excited. Will what happens in the future here over the next few months represent what happens in the past? I don't know, but it's a good bet that it will. And what that means, just eyeballing it off this, I don't like to get complicated, nothing like that. It halves, it goes up for a while. It looks like we're in that sort of mania phase. And if I was to make a wild guess, just based on history, it looks like we're halfway through that mania phase. Maybe we're approaching the last third of it. I don't know, but the next 6 to 12 months are going to be really, really interesting. Because if you just look at it, when it jumps up, it usually goes, 1 bar over, 2 bars over, 1.5 bars over, and we're almost 1 bar over. So that tells me we could be about halfway through this mania. Now, of course, everyone else is going to be thinking the same, so it's either going to trick a bunch of people, or it's going to happen a little sooner or a little later. But if I had to guess on the probabilities, my guess would be it's going to continue to go up for a little bit. Then people are going to get really excited it's going to go up, and then it's going to go way back down. And then over the long term, I believe Bitcoin is going to continue on its trend of halving and continuing to go up because it gets scarcer and scarcer, provided that the protocol doesn't get hacked and everyone still loves the brand And, one of the most interesting things I've ever heard of is just thinking about how all of the baby boomers are going to be passing away over the next 5, 10, 20 years, going to be giving their money to millennials. And what do millennials love? They love index funds and cryptocurrency. So a lot of that money is going to go into Bitcoin. So if this trend continues, I expect Bitcoin to go higher, although with a lot of bumps and possibly even many more 80% drawdowns, because that's what's happened. But right now, if I look at the whole picture, I'm super bullish, at least today. Going forward, just a tiny bit. But I'm dancing near the door because typically it goes up a bunch and then it crashes 80%. Will history repeat itself? We're going to watch, but we are clearly in the mania phase. So be very, very careful. Now, as far as the whole market, in looking at businesses, I love to look at the leader of all of the businesses. And everyone knows the trend right now is AI. AI chips. AI in helping Google and Microsoft make more money in Facebook and Amazon, all that sort of things. And NVIDIA just reported earnings. And if you look at them, they're up 191% year to date. Well, are they expensive? Is this a huge bubble? Let's look at the data. What I'm looking at here is they just released this, I think yesterday, their quarterly revenue trends. And if you look at this, just over a year ago here, they were, and I think my face is blocking part of it, they were at 18. Now they're at 35, so this is almost a complete doubling of their revenue. Not quite, but almost. So this is a strong upward trend. You can see all year, for the last 4 quarters, it was at 22, then 26, then 30, then 35. So guess what? The trend is up. And if the leader is continuing to expand, my guess, as of right now, until the data changes, that the market is going to stay on this trend, at least today. Now, one of the things that I want to look at more here is even more data. So here's the revenue from TSMC. Guess what? In October, they were up 29%, selling 29% more money worth of chips. The specifics aren't even important. The direction is what's important. And it's up 29%. We'll have to see what comes out for November. But clearly, this is expansionary. And I expect that to continue. And all it's going to do is give us fantastic investing opportunities. So if you want to know what I'm investing in right now, you can go to highreturnlowrisk.com, check out my website, sign up to my private membership to get a look at my portfolio in real time. So this has been the market update. The market looks great to me, and it's telling me things are pretty bullish despite what everyone is saying. So hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this with someone who'd get a lot out of it, and I'll talk to you next week. How am I using this information to protect and grow my wealth? Go to highreturnlowrisk.com.